I'm Jane Applegath. This is the Epic Vision Zone. Today, we're diving into something truly transformative. What if nature held the key to unlocking natural, powerful solutions that could elevate your health and fuel you to live your best life? And what if the answer to boundless energy, emotional harmony, and complete nutritional wellness could be found in the essence of plants? Helen Keller wrote, "Smell is a potent wizard that transports you across thousands of miles and all the years you have lived." Today, we are exploring how plant based solutions might just be the secret to empower your health journey, taking it to new heights. Melody Watts is a powerhouse in the world of essential oils and natural wellness with over 25 years of expertise in functional medicine and biochemistry. For the past 13 years, Melody has been on a mission to empower women and families to take charge of their health. Her teachings show you how to harness the power of plants, herbs, essential oils, and beyond for everyday wellness. Melody's deep knowledge of brain chemistry, functional medicine, and emotional support with essential oils has transformed countless lives. But beyond that, Melody's passion extends into her personal life as well. She has faced her own health battles, including Lyme disease, mold illness, Hashimoto's, and the weight of childhood trauma. Today, discover how you too can reclaim your health, wellness using natural solutions to a healthier, more empowered life. Welcome, Melody. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here. That was a really beautiful introduction. Thank you.
Well, it's all you, and I am just so excited to have you here and share your knowledge and the power of plant essence with our audience. So, let's get started. What inspired you to do the work that you do today?
Well, when my son was 3 years old, he developed a cough and a respiratory issue that I was really struggling finding a solution for. And it felt like a simple problem, but for whatever reason, mainstream didn't have any solutions for me. And I became very frustrated and I felt really powerless as a mother. And I think a lot of mothers find themselves in that position when their children are not doing well, they're dealing with a health concern, and we feel helpless. And we go to the doctor, and oftentimes we aren't even given solutions that work, or there's big side effects, and there's no long term solution. And I remember the doctor just saying to me, "Well, we don't know what's causing this,
Mm.
but here's a prescription." And for me, that was very deflating to give my 3 year old a prescription that potentially would not do anything long term, right? Because he'd been dealing with this respiratory issue for 6 months. So, about that time, in kind of my depths of despair, and when I say despair, I was very, very sad and very helpless and very powerless. And when you're in that situation, it doesn't feel good, right?
Yeah.
So I came across an essential oil blend called Breathe. And my friend told me to put it on his feet and put it on his chest at night. And he slept through the night for the first time without coughing in 6 months. And I felt empowered as a mother. I felt like I was able to help my child with an everyday health concern where it didn't cause side effects, where he was able to sleep, where I wasn't worried about what is this going to do to him on the flip side, because the side effects of the things I was reading about were really scary. And at that moment, light bulb went off, and I've never been the same. And I started using it and learning in and diving in, and I started using it for my own health concerns. And yeah, the rest is history.
Mm. Well, thank you for sharing that story. It actually gave me chills thinking about your desperation and as a mom, wanting to find a solution for your child. And unfortunately, today, with Western medicine, they often go to the medical field, the medications, which often have terrible side effects. But the fact that you didn't give up, and my sensing is that the universe sent
Mhm.
you that for what you do today. And it, you know, they always say there are no coincidences. And when you tell us that story and then how you came to find the solution by never giving up, but then
Mhm.
therein lay the path for your road forward. So wow, that is such a powerful story. Thank you for sharing that. And I could actually feel, you know, why you were so passionate about the results that it, you know, it offered your son after months and months of, you know, trying to find a solution. Well, then what are they, the essential oils? What are they exactly? And why are they so healing to our body, mind, and spirit? Because I know there is so much richness in this topic.
Mhm. Well, essential oils come from trees, roots, bark, stems, flowers, buds, seeds. And what they are is they're actually essential to the plant. And
Mm,
so when a peppermint plant, for example, gets ruptured, the essential oils beads are basically burst and they go straight away to start healing the plant. And that is the one of the things they do. So their first thing is to protect the plant. And there's certain things that repel predators, right? The plant has these
mm,
things that protect it from, you know, going extinct, and it has survival instincts, right? And so it has all these things built into it. So when you're taking the essential oil of the plant, the essence of the plant, or the part that is most medicinal, that then can be used on our cell membranes in a very
mm,
similar way. And so plants and humans can work really symbiotically because we have cells as well. And our cells are fatty membranes, and essential oils just happen to be fatty as well. And so they go right into the cell membrane, and they get to work. Specifically, the pathway that they work is they are powerful chemical messengers, and they work
mm,
specifically on the DNA and cell receptor sites. And they help us turn on genes that are healthy genes and anti aging genes, or genes that will increase our longevity. And they actually help turn off, right? Or ignore, or sometimes even destroy genes that are unhealthy. And what I mean by genes is more cells that have replicated that are unhealthy. It will cause those cells to self destruct. And so we see this innate intelligence among the essential oils that our body knows exactly how to work with it, because they are intelligent molecules. They're not a
mm,
man made chemical, they're intelligent molecules. And so our body knows exactly how to work with them. And they can be used aromatically, where we breathe it in, respiratory, and it can attach to our cell receptor sites. In the olfactory system. And we can also use it topically, where it works directly with our fatty cells. And then we can also use it internally, where we can get a targeted support, whether it be gut health, gut microbiome, neurotransmitters, liver cleansing, and taking it more of an internal approach. All three ways you get a systemic response. So whether you're breathing it in, whether you're putting it on topically, or whether you're ingesting it, I only recommend doTERRA essential oil brand that is specifically tested for internal use. There's
mm,
hundreds of brands on the market that are not suggested for internal use. doTERRA's has been tested to be safe for internal
mm,
use. As long as the label says supplement facts on it, you'll see the label. So that is a really important distinction as well, because there are so many essential oils that are synthetic labeled as pure. And so
mm,
I highly recommend, because you can do damage when you're using synthetic oils labeled as pure. And doTERRA does 54 different tests. And so that's what I trust for my family's health and wellness. And so that's how you use it: internally, topically, aromatically. And I also actually use it environmentally. I clean my house. I use it on for my skincare. I use it as pest control. I use it on weeds. There's all sorts of things that I use it for environmentally as well.
wow, that is fascinating. I love that you said so. The oil that comes from the plant, the trees, the essence of that is number one, a healer, but also a protector. And like,
Mhm.
and then you painted the story of how that actually works for us, it becomes the healer and the protector for our cells. So in nature, it's an intelligent. Like they
Mhm.
say, we have our bodies are intelligent, as are plants and living things of, excuse me, of the earth. So absolutely, that was fascinating, and I could see why you would want to keep that purity. And you probably answered a little bit of this question, but I do want to stress that give our audience a little bit of advice on the best ways to see if an essential oil is pure, because you just mentioned that it could actually do damage if you're ingesting or maybe even using topically an oil that is being marketed as pure but is not.
Yeah, well, there's several brands that will just say for aromatic use only, and those are for
Mm,
sure your synthetics, right? Even if it says 100% pure, there's no regulation in the industry, and
mm,
so they can pretty much put whatever they want on the label. But as long as it, so for example, lavender, as long as it resembles lavender, whether it's completely made in a lab or not, you can say 100% pure lavender, as long as it
mm,
smells like lavender. So it can be completely created in a lab and be completely synthetic. So there actually was a Roseman University, that did a third party analysis of multiple brands. They probably took 50 different brands out there, leading brands, and they wanted to test. They did this behind doTERRA's back. So they wanted to see which oils were efficacious, and they wanted to test brands, and they wanted to see why. And so what they did was they tested on human liver cells in a petri dish, and they checked different brands, and they found that doTERRA was the only brand that had significant impact on human cells without doing damage. And they
mm,
were really curious to why this was the case. And we're talking major brands that say they do testing and all this kind of stuff. And what they found was that doTERRA's oils were not adulterated or changed in any way, shape, or form. They were in their whole form directly from nature.
mm,
And they found that the other brands had what we call spiking or adulteration or stretching or complete synthetics. And they were able to figure this out through isolating molecules and carbon dating, and also through chirality. And chirality is basically, how does the molecule sit in nature? So if you were to have like a peppermint molecule that has menthol, and that menthol has hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen, and they're able to see that particular molecule in nature, and it sits in a certain orientation. And so the synthetic molecule will sit in a different orientation than that one. And so you can see that the right and the left hand
mm,
are the same, but the way that they sit in nature, the chirality of the molecule is different. And so no matter what you do, the original molecule that has not been adulterated, it is received differently in the body. And so you'll
mm,
actually see people create synthetic menthol all the time, and they use menthol rubs and all the things. But the synthetic molecule will go in and it will numb, it will cause whatever the purpose is, analgesic, whatever it is, but then it has side effects. And so there was actually a study done on lab rats. Not that I condone it, and doTERRA didn't do this study, but what they studied they gave they stressed these lab rats out, and what they found is when they gave them lavender, within about 30 seconds, the sympathetic nervous system calmed down, which is that sympathetic response, right? That fight or flight
mhm,
response. At the same time, the parasympathetic nervous system increased. And
mm,
that is not how medication works. Medication works by suppressing the symptom and suppressing function. So it will
okay.
suppress the sympathetic nervous system, and at the same time, it suppresses parasympathetic nervous system, because the body doesn't know what the synthetic molecule is trying to do. And so the real molecule, the non-synthetic molecule, will actually increase function while suppressing symptoms. And that is what essential oils do. And that's why they're so powerful.
Mm. That is so informative and amazing. Absolutely. Uh, Boy, this I could see why the industry wants to keep it a secret. It would basically put a lot of the pharmaceuticals out of business. Oh, it can't be that powerful. It's just an oil. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You know,
And when you're
this.
dealing with, most of the oils on the market are synthetic, you just do not get the same results.
Yeah.
You'll get some result because synthetic menthol is going to do what synthetic menthol does, but it's so much more powerful. And this is what the Roseman University's research showed. And what's interesting is a lot of companies will do a couple of tests, but those tests that they do, which is called GCMS, gas chromatography mass spectrum testing, what they have found with that testing is it's super easy to get a synthetic and make it look like it's the real thing. Like you can have a GCMS test and there's still spiking and there's still adulteration. I'll give you one example. There's a brand out there that sells an oil called Copaiba and they sell it for $8. It's a 10 mil. And they say, oh, it's just as good as doTERRA. That's what all the companies, just as good as this brand, right? And what's interesting is when you look at the chemical reports, you can see that this Copaiba has eugenol in it. And eugenol is only found in a handful of essential oils. It's the main chemical constituent in clove. It's what dentists will pack your dry socket with for a pain reliever. It's called
Mhm.
eugenol. Well, clove is where eugenol comes from. And so what's interesting is this Copaiba had high amounts of eugenol in it and unusual amounts of beta carotene, which is naturally found in Copaiba at about, if it's a good Copaiba, it's the beta carotene is found at about 55%. And that's how you know you're dealing with a really good Copaiba. Well, this Copaiba from this other brand had 80% beta carotene and it had eugenol in it. And so what we were able to determine, I sent it over to I don't read labs, like that's not my expertise, but I sent it over to some expert lab technicians and I said, tell me why this this Copaiba has eugenol in it. That doesn't exist in Copaiba. And he says, well, they have spiked it with clove oil. They've spiked it with Copaiba resin, which
Mm.
is so much cheaper. It's like $15 a kilo or something crazy cheap to
Yeah.
get the resin. And then what they did to make it look like it was Copaiba is they spiked it with clove to make it
Mm.
look like it had high amounts of beta carotene because clove also has high amounts of beta carotene. And so that's just how they doctor their oils. And then they go and they can sell it, for $8 for a 10 mil. And, doTERRA's is $30 for a 15 mil. And so people go, oh, this is, so much cheaper. And it's like, well, do you want real Copaiba that's going to do what Copaiba does? Or do you want this, knockoff that's totally spiked and adulterated and doesn't even have,
Yeah.
the correct thing that it's labeled as. And unfortunately, that's rampant in the industry. So I
Yeah.
just think consumer beware, it's not like I want a bunch of regulation on essential oils because then we've got the government putting their thumb in there. But at the same time, I think it's important that people do their research. doTERRA does 54 different tests. So do I want an essential oil that does 2 tests and that are easily faked, or do I want one that does 54 different tests? And so for me and
Right.
for my family, we have chemical sensitivities. I can't use synthetics. So for me, that's the company I choose. And there might be a couple other brands out there that are pure, but they're heck of expensive. And so doTERRA has been able to large scale their sourcing initiatives, cut out the broker or the middleman, these
Right.
brokers where this is where most essential oil companies get their oils is from a broker, a European broker, a United States broker, and that's where all the adulteration and spiking happens. And then they sell it to the company and then they sell it to the consumer. Well, doTERRA has completely bypassed the brokers and they go directly to the farmers. And what's really incredible about this is they can pay the farmers more and then you're getting a
Mm.
whole plant. You're not getting an adulterated lab made thing.
Right. Efficacy. And that's why you're here, because you
Yeah.
are educating the audience with the knowledge that this is the why. Like you said, it's an industry that's not, um, it's not regulated. That's a good thing in one sense. But on the other hand,
Mm-hmm.
there are those that are duping individuals. And I mean, it happens. It happens in every industry, but I'm so grateful that you're here because that is something that we need to know, and that is one of the reasons that I believe DoTerra is so successful. When you hear, like, it's interesting that they say it's just like DoTerra. Well, why are they using DoTerra as the example? Because they are well known to be ethical and have the purest oils. So there you go. So
Mm-hmm.
why not just go to the source? But thank you for that information. That is so it's disturbing, but on the other hand, it's good to know that we do have corporations that have a higher standard and that could help
Yeah.
the can help consumers with what they really need. And so
Yeah.
thank you for that information. Absolutely. Well, if you could tell us now, what are three top ways to use essential oils? You mentioned briefly that you use it in your house, use it on skin hair, but what would you say are the top three ways that individuals can use essential oils?
So I'll give you an example of the aromatic, topical, and internal use. So I would use the oils aromatically, maybe in a diffuser, or I could take a drop of an essential oil, put it on my hand, and just simply breathe it in. This is kind of a thicker one I've got here. And the reason you would breathe in an essential oils for a couple different reasons. One, you have instant access to the olfactory receptor sites in the nose, which directly interact with the brain, specifically the limbic system. And so you're able to directly impact your mood with the sense of smell. And
Mm.
what we're finding and what science has shown is that when you diffuse things like citrus or mint oils, it actually helps enhance the neurotransmitter pathways in the brain, as well as it helps with a healthy inflammatory response. And what I mean by that is
Mm.
when you're breathing in peppermint and it has these properties in it, right, that help oxygenate. There's actually research that shows peppermint essential oil and eucalyptus essential oil oxygenate your cells. So your oxygen saturation will go up when using this. So I'll give an example. One time my grandma was not feeling well. We used Breathe essential oil, which has peppermint and eucalyptus in it. We put it in her hand. I had her do a little breathing treatment just like this. And then we put a little bit on her chest with a carrier
Mm.
oil, along with some immune supporting oils like On Guard, Arbavita, which are some of my favorites for immune system threats. And we used that on her, and her oxygen saturation in 5 minutes went from 92 to 98. Her oxygen saturation. I had a little measure that we put on her finger to test because I wanted her to see that she was going to be okay. And so I wanted to show her that
Mm.
oxygen. And of course, then she was able to get up and move around without feeling like she had labored breathing. And so now I will say this does not substitute medical advice, right?
Mm.
If you need to go to the doctor and get urgent care or emergency care, absolutely do so. But I do think that medicine is meant to be a temporary fix while you find a long-term root cause solution. So for me, I've worked hand in hand with medicine. You know, I had kidney stones one time and had to get surgery. And so I'm not over here anti-medicine or anything like that. And there's, of course, a time and a place for it. I just say use it hand in hand with mainstream so that you have a really integrated approach and you feel like not only do I have a short-term urgent solution, but then I also am looking at a root cause solution. So just keep that in mind. Like if my grandma, you know, if she went down below 90, we would have taken her right to the hospital. So don't worry. No emergencies or fatalities have happened in my care. Very, very much the opposite. In fact, my nephew one time was at 86 oxygen saturation, and my sister did Breathe and Deep Blue, which is Deep Blue is heavily good for swelling, and it also has steroidal properties and histamine supporting properties. So she
Mm.
used the Breathe for oxygen saturation. She used the Deep Blue to help modulate his immune system. And within 10 minutes, and she was like en route to the ER, within 10 minutes, he was at 100% oxygen saturation.
Wow.
And she said since birth, he has never been above 96. And that was when he was 12 years old, and he has not had an emergency room visit since.
Wow.
So, because she started working with root cause, which were environmental toxins and digestive. So she started to get overall systemic inflammatory response in his body modulated through diet, removing environmental toxins, and using essential oils as an added support. So respiratory and aromatic use is one way to do it. Now, there's also just scent. Scent is one of our most powerful senses in our
Hmm.
ability to change state. So being able to change your state immediately. I was at a show this weekend, a health show this weekend, and a woman came over and she actually uses a different brand of oils, but she was open to trying ours. And so she had just moved and she was feeling some grief and loss. And she started crying within a few minutes of talking to me. And I put an oil called Console right on her chest and I had her breathe it in. And with about 5 seconds, she was able to stop crying
Mm,
and process the emotion she was feeling. Something about the Console oil is it helps release grief from the body. So the oils hold frequencies. One of the tools that I like to use, and this is another way that I'll use it aromatically, is for emotional. I have a little wheel here that shows you what do I want to feel less of and what do I want to feel more of. And what's interesting is, let's say you pick sadness and then you go, oh, okay, I'm feeling in the sadness category. Is it loss? Is it grief? Is it heavy hearted? And I have people pick the emotion. And then there's a exact oil that will help that body. So, or that emotion. So for example, heavy hearted, the oil is peppermint. And
mm,
peppermint on an emotional level, yes, it increases oxygen saturation, but it's also very light and volatile, very light. So what it does is it lightens the heart, and it's an oil of a buoyant heart. That is what peppermint is for on an emotional. So I
mm.
pair it with this book that I love called Essential Emotions. Sorry if you can't read that, but this is a book that
Yeah.
I'll use for people, and we'll look up peppermint. And if peppermint describes what they're feeling, then we've made a match. And I'll say, let's put peppermint and see if that helps you release some of these feelings of heavy heartedness, right? And
Mm,
so I'll see people shift right away. So aromatic use. The third way I'll use it aromatically is for overall just making the house smell incredible. So I love smells. I used to love perfumes before I became allergic to synthetic fragrance. And so just being able to put an oil on to smell incredible or diffuse an essential oil instead of using like a candle or a Glade plug-in. Now, there's a big, big difference behind using a real plant like a wild orange, diffusing wild orange and peppermint or brie, for example, or lavender, and using a synthetic smell. And here's the biggest
mm.
difference. A synthetic chemical, what it's going to do is it's going to put off free radicals, and it's going to cause
Right.
oxidative damage in your body and in your cells, inflammation in your nasal pathway, and it can also cause headaches and irritability and confusion and mental focus issues. So that's what you're dealing when you're dealing with a synthetic fragrance. And dogs can become very overwhelmed
Mm.
with synthetic fragrance, mouth watering, allergies, all sorts of things. And people don't even realize it's all the synthetic fragrance they have in their home. Well, with a real essential oil, if I'm, for example, diffusing peppermint or wild orange, it's actually antioxidant and protective and opens up airways and promotes mental focus. So it's literally the exact opposite of a synthetic fragrance. And the other way I would use it aromatically is for immune system support. So let's say
Mm.
people in the home are under the weather. I'm going to diffuse a blend like On Guard, which has cinnamon and clove and rosemary and wild orange and oils that are really good for immune system threats. And what that's going to do is it's going to bind to different particles in the air and neutralize them very quickly. So it's very air purifying as well. So that's aromatic. So topical. I love wearing oils as like aphrodisiacs or perfumes. So I have gardenia here, which is a totally limited
Mm.
time oil. Sorry if people are watching this and it's no longer available, but you can get it in Russia. That's where it's sustainable.
I
But I
love
do get it around.
gardenia.
I get it around the
Mm.
Christmas season. It's one of our Christmas oils. And
Mm.
so I love the gardenia, and it's one of our holiday oils. And so this is something I wear just as an overall floral fragrance, and it
Mm.
smells incredible. I became so obsessed with this smell that I actually have a gardenia like vine in my office now with like a sun lamp. But it's so, I love it so
Mm.
much. I left a community a couple years ago, a religious community, and I needed friends, and I became kind of longing for friends. And it's no wonder this is my favorite oil, because emotionally it's the oil of friendship. And
Mm.
so I've gained some of my best friends in the last 6 months, and this is just my favorite oil to wear. And so it could be because that's my
Beautiful.
emotional need right. So applying oils topically, you can use it emotionally. I talked about the Console blend. There's a Forgive blend. You can use it right over the liver where we harbor
Mm.
feelings of anger or resentment or bitterness. Um, and that's another way we can use it. If I was dealing with an immune system issue, um, I would use oils along my spine and along my feet. And when I'm using
Mm.
oils topically, I'm generally combining it with a carrier oil, unless it's a touch blend, which is already made with a carrier oil. I will usually add a carrier oil such as coconut oil or jojoba or something that will drive the oils deeper. And that makes it so if it's a hot oil like cinnamon or oregano, that you're not causing a rash or abrasions because it is so
Right.
hot. So you dilute it on your skin with a carrier oil. So for my grandma, we used Arbavita, we used On Guard, and then I used a respiratory blend, Breathe, and I used Douglas fir, which is incredible for the
Mm.
bronchioles. What's cool about trees, Douglas fir is a pine tree, but if you look at a lot of trees, they are shaped like bronchial tubes and lungs.
Mm.
So nature kind of mimics we need. Clove is very much like teeth, and so nature gives us clues. So, topical use also for temporary relief of aches and pains. So, I had another lady come up to my booth this weekend and she had knee pain and she wanted to make sure it worked before she purchased anything. I said, no problem. We used deep blue, frankincense, which is a powerhouse for the inflammatory response. We used copaiba, which is rich in cannabinoids. And she walked around, she came back and she said, it worked. Sign me up, give me some of that. So that's another way you can use it topically, is for temporary relief of aches and pains. Um, my A family member had menstrual cramps and she just thought it
Mm.
was part of being a woman, and we used a blend called Clary Calm right over her uterus. We gave her some doTERRA bone nutrients, and within 10 minutes cramps gone, and she said, wow, I've suffered my whole life and all I needed was
Some more.
magnesium and Clary Calm and my cramps are gone, right? So that's another example of how we use it topically. And then the third way, internally, my favorite way, there's always gut cleansing things you can do. There's liver boosting oils like citrus oils and turmeric, which help boost the production of glutathione in the body, which is incredible for detox. Citrus oils especially. Peppermint can be really soothing as well for digestive issues. There's a blend called Digesten that can be used internally for the burp ups and indigestion and gas even, and congested bowels. That's one of the first oils I also use for my family. And then neurotransmitters. That is a big way that I use essential oils. So my very favorite blend to use would be bergamot and melissa in a veggie
Mm.
capsule, and that supports a healthy serotonin and dopamine cycle. And that's kind of my homemade version, but doTERRA does have blends ready to go that are really good already for brain chemistry. There's a blend called
Mm.
Adaptive, and it's an essential oil blend with GABA and essential oils that help promote healthy dopamine and healthy serotonin. So it gets right in working with the neurotransmitters in the gut, and it's very effective at boosting mood. Teenagers especially respond so quickly to this. It's crazy how quickly teenagers respond to the mood neurotransmitter oils, and then we will combine it with a probiotic for neurotransmitters, which doTERRA also carries. Their supplemental formulas are really brilliant, but that is probably my favorite. Sometimes we get the stomach barfs, and 9 times out of 10, a veggie capsule of lime will completely obliterate it. But sometimes we need a couple
Mhm.
drops of thyme essential oil as well. And that combo has never failed me, not once, for the stomach bug. And when people get the stomach bug for like 4 or 5 days, and we can stop it in its tracks, with lime and thyme, that's really powerful as well for internal use. So many ways you can use it internally. And there used to be some controversy, and I think there is still today among herbologists,
Mhm.
that they don't like the internal use of essential oils. And I wholeheartedly disagree, because the research shows that it's healthy for the microbiome. It actually creates a healthy balance of microbiome, because it kind of takes out the weeds and creates a great environment for probiotics and microbiome to grow. And it tightens your gut junctures as well when people have a really bad imbalance causing inflammation and cracks, inflammatory cracks
Right.
or chapped, I call it chapped lips in the gut. And
Mm.
what it does is it tightens and soothes those junctures and creates a very healthy balance in the microbiome. So people that have those concerns, I would only be concerned with a synthetic chemical. I would not be
Mm.
concerned with their essential oils. So those are
Right.
the 3 ways: aromatic, topical, and internal.
Right. And it sounds like you've just touched the surface, but oh my gosh, what a wealth of information. Who knew that these essential oils? I really loved that what you said, that they hold a frequency. That was
Mhm.
fascinating to me. that these essential oils, because as you and I both believe that we are energetic beings, and absolutely synthetics would not have any of those powerful properties, including all of the others that you mentioned. But that is, yes, I would recommend, if someone is interested, to get on a call with Melody, because you are just a wealth of information. I'm sitting here going, wow, I could use that one. I could use this one. I'm like, okay, the computer, the brain's like a chaka chaka chaka. But absolutely, I mean, and when you said they're great for teenagers, I'm thinking, my gosh, we need to put it in all the schools, for goodness sakes. There's such a prevalent, so many children young age are severely depressed, or they're experiencing anxiety. And I'm like, oh my, I never experienced that at that early age. I mean, certainly I can understand if you have childhood trauma, but in the day when I went to high school, I didn't even use the word anxiety. I was like, oh, what's that? I mean, it's terrible. But of course, and there's so many, facets that feed to that. Our environment, the bad food that people eat, but certainly with something like these essential oils and the other products, which we're going to delve into, that are available through doTERRA, and through your knowledge, because obviously it's not just a matter of, oh, this is a nice smelling oil and it's pure, so you should buy this. No, it's a matter of, wait a minute, this can do so much more for you. It can heal, it can change your mood, it can energize, it could help you sleep. It just, there's a, it's like a treasure trove. I mean, really,
Mhm.
it's like a
It really
treasure trove.
is. Our
Absolutely.
planet has all these solutions if we
Mm-hmm.
just, get back in touch with
Right.
um, nature, right?
Nature.
All the
Yeah.
answers are around us and in our environment.
I wanted to ask you now, because we are at the cusp of the flu season, and I know you mentioned On Guard, which is I believe, a top product of doTERRA's for warding off the flu, or even if you're ill. But tell us how essential oils help the immune and respiratory system. Is it all topical, or do you suggest ingesting it as well? Because I would think, as a parent, I would love to have this handy, whatever it is that would help us walk around, so that we're not, you know, not just catching what other people have, but also providing our bodies with protection, so that the flu doesn't really lay us out.
Well, what's really interesting, as a doTERRA sales rep, I cannot talk about the flu, unfortunately.
Oh,
So
wow.
that is
Okay.
something that we are not allowed to make any sort of healing claims,
Hmm.
especially for any type of condition, including the flu. We're just
Yeah.
not allowed to. It's called commercial speech. And so I personally cannot speak to the flu, but what I will say is feel free to Google it and do your own research. And this is what I will say: to support the immune system
Mm.
and protect your body against immune system and environmental threats, I would use On Guard topically, over the
Hmm.
throat, on the tongue, along the spine. I would diffuse it. And then there is a supplement called On Guard Plus that is an already made veggie capsule that has On
Mm.
Guard plus oregano in it. And let me tell you, when we're low on vitamin D during the winter season, it is a staple in our home. And we go from feeling unwell to well, sometimes in 12 hours, sometimes in 24 hours. If we don't catch it soon enough, sometimes it's 2 days. The sooner you catch it, the better. And I will tell you that for immune system threats, it's an absolute must have. But of course, there's always going to be somebody that when they do have an immune system threat, it's too far gone. They have other weaknesses in their body, like
Mm.
such as vitamin D deficiency or big stressors, that it won't matter how much, essential oil they take, their body still might not be able to overcome this. And so with a super weakened immune system, it's going to support the immune system. But just remember, there can always be multifaceted factors that cause somebody to have a weakened or less robust immune system. And so the sooner you can start applying essential oils at the second of the body aches or feeling the sniffles, I think it's great.
Mm.
But again, I cannot claim that it helps with the flu.
Well, thank you. I mean, there's your yes, I understand. To strengthen the immune system, which is what we need to do to avoid seasonal illnesses, is, just be aware and know that there is some natural remedies that can help boost your immune system, because that's really where the cure lies, is to help your body support itself. So, how can essential oils then help with the systemic support?
So what's really interesting is the second you put on essential oil, especially with a carrier oil, is it's going to reach every one of your trillion of cells within a matter of 30 seconds. The body it's a messenger, and it works very quickly. So you can actually look under a microscope. We've done this before. We've tested people's blood before and after applying balance essential oil. And the blood the cells went from very clumpy and sluggish to just
Mm.
bouncing all around and being fully oxygenated and energized within about 30 seconds of applying the doTERRA essential oil on the bottom of the feet. So it just works very quickly with the cells because they are lipophilic. And they also certain oils work with turning on good DNA and turning off bad DNA. And so that's also a big way that they're noticing with genes and turning on genes. So for example, with the new VMG supplement, it's a foundational wellness, vitamin, mineral, greens, antioxidant supplement, but they did add essential oils to it. And what they found was it turned on longevity genes after 6 weeks of use by 1.9 years. And then it also reduced C-reactive protein by 43%, and the absorption ratio, because of the essential oils, because they're lipophilic and it drives it right into the cells. They found that the absorption of vitamin minerals is 4 times more effective than regular vitamins and minerals, because other regular vitamins and minerals don't have the essential oils. They're only about 20% absorbed. So they have just found that it's very bioavailable in a supplemental form. And then topically, it affects every cell in your body within 30 seconds. So it just works very quickly. The Serenity sleep study that was done, they did clinical trials on that, and they found after 4 weeks of use, it turned on 4 different longevity genes, extending life by 3.4 years.
Wow.
So it's just powerful with its ability to turn on
Hmm.
healthy genes. And if our
Right.
environment is what affects epigenetics, I don't know
Hmm.
about you, but I want my environment to be full of essential oils if it's turning on good genes, if it's good
Yeah.
information going into my body, causing my body to wake up, wake up the healthy genes.
Mm. I love that analogy. It's waking up your healthy genes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because we
Turning
have
it on.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. We just, yeah, it absolutely. Well, you've talked about brain mood and brain management. So tell us how essential oils can positively affect and our moods and the brain chemistry, because I find this fascinating. You touched on it a little bit at the beginning.
Well, what we found is that between 70 and 90% of dopamine and serotonin is created in the digestive system and the
Mhm.
neurotransmitters in the digestive system. And when the brain and the digestive system they were created in one cell, and then they separated like twin cells, only they didn't all the way separate. They stay connected to this
Mm.
day through something called the vagus nerve. And so you've got your brain and you've got your digestive system connected through the vagus nerve. And therefore, because it's totally connected like electricity, there's neurotransmitters in your gut, and they directly shoot neurotransmitters and affect neurotransmitters in your brain. So, whatever you eat, whatever you put in your stomach, is going to affect your dopamine and your serotonin, which is why when people eat sugar, they get a dopamine rush, right? But because it's not
Mhm.
necessarily a healthy form of dopamine rush, you can crash very quickly. So, what I like to do is I like to use certain essential oils that help support the serotonin cycle. And that could be
Mhm.
Melissa, that could be rosemary, that could be thyme essential oil, Siberian fir, tangerine are all really good for supporting healthy serotonin. And then dopamine, I have found that bergamot, cinnamon, yarrow palm, copaiba, juniper berry, black pepper, clove essential oil are all really incredible oils for supporting the dopamine cycle. So those are, you can take in a veggie capsule. if you want. And that's for when you're going through hard times, when you're looking
Mm.
to maybe do a dopamine social media detox, just when you're needing a little extra support. And then I always recommend supporting the serotonin and dopamine through essential oils, and the neurotransmitters are really important. But I also really recommend that you feel into your emotions. What do I want to feel less of? What do I want to feel more of? And be able to go and identify what you're feeling. Because a lot of times people, they just don't even know what they're feeling. So if I can just say,
Mhm.
hey, if you look at this, tell me what you want to feel less of, tell me what you want to feel more of. And we can get to a very specific oil very quickly. And then we can go in and read about that oil and what frequencies that oil holds and allows a conduit for your body to process those emotions much quicker. So I had a client one time that came to me with a lump in her throat. She was dealing with a breakup. It was actually a teenager.
Mm.
And there was a lot of grief and invalidation. And I also work on an intuitive level. So sometimes I can just actually feel. So if they have a hard time expressing, sometimes I'll give a few suggestions like, hey, are you feeling invalidation? What are you feeling right here? Does that resonate? And they'll say, yeah, that's what I'm feeling, right? And so then that kind of will help me. And I always try to make it come from them, but every once in a while, if they need a little bit of support in my intuitive process, I'll help them figure out what that lump is or what that little ball of energy might be that needs to be processed. And so we'll go through and we'll have them identify the oil, we'll apply the oil, and then, yeah, this is how this person made me feel, like I wasn't important, like I
Mm.
was invalid, what I said didn't matter, like, questioning myself. And then there's the grief and the loss of, the intermittent euphoria that I felt when the times were good, like the grief and the loss. So is it okay to process grief and loss at the same time as feeling like this person didn't validate you? And then we were able to go through all the emotions, all
Mm.
the oils, and process it. Within about 15 minutes, the lump was completely gone. And she didn't
Mm.
have to use negative coping mechanisms. She was able to feel her emotions, process what she was feeling, validate herself, bless and release. And so that is one of the things that I teach people. I actually have a class coming up December 4th where I'm going to take people through this exact process, and we're going to do a lot of
Mm.
live interactions. If anybody wants to take that class, it's totally free. You can go to melodywatts.net/teach me and register for that class. It's coming up December 4th, 2024. I will record it. So then it will be on that same website, melodywatts.net/teach me. And you can watch the whole session. It'll probably be about 2 hours, and we're going to take people through the entire process, several people through the entire process.
Wow, that sounds. What does the class have a title? Like what is it? You
It's
said it's two
essential
hours.
emotions. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Mm.
So working through your emotions and how to address them, identifying them when they come up, and then how to address them with essential
Yeah.
oils.
Yep.
Ah, wonderful. Well, we'll put that on the bio pages as well. But thank you for sharing that because oh my gosh, are you kidding? Around this time, everybody needs it. with all the families and festivities and the stress and everything else. Everybody needs to go and take that and take time out for yourself. That would be a great way to unwind or get ready for the holidays, one way or the other. But well, thank you
Yeah.
for that information. And like I said, we'll be sure to put that on the bio pages so people can look at that. So, how do essential oils increase the bioavailability of nutrients and our cellular function? I think you may have already addressed that.
Yeah. So with essential oils, because they're lipophilic, they're fat based. Our cells are also
Mm.
fat based, and so it's just as a driver. So most vitamins and minerals you're taking in, and they're water soluble, right? And so you're absorbing them through the digestive system. So the health of your digestion matters on absorption, all that kind of stuff. When you're dealing with essential oils and vitamins and minerals, you're getting them right into the cells, even the cells that are in your digestive tract. It's driving it right into the cells because it has that
Mm.
conduit or liposome of the essential oil that is lipophilic, and so it drives the nutrients right in, and it's incredible the results we're seeing.
Mm. Absolutely. Yes. I recall you saying now about the tissue and how it associates with it. So,
Mhm.
well, now I'm really excited to have you tell us about, and you mentioned it very briefly, the VMG nutrient complex, and
Mhm.
why you recommend it. Because I saw this on your Instagram feed. I was talking to Melody earlier, and I was I said, oh my gosh, you have to talk about this. It looks really, really valuable and great for our bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I love that it's a drink mix. It takes the
Mm,
place of 8 different pills, right? And people are just getting
mm,
tired of swallowing pills, right? But
right.
also people have big nutritional deficiencies. Harvard did a study where up to 95% of Americans are deficient in just even one or more mineral and vitamin. And so knowing that we have these, and then one thing I'm really passionate about is soil health. And so our soil is not nearly as nutritious as it was years ago due to chemical farming and pesticides and herbicides have destroyed the microbiome of the soil. And what that does is it prevents our soil from properly breaking down the minerals and vitamins and for the plants to actually uptake that. Because once you kill the microbiome of the soil, it's dead soil. It's not alive anymore, and the
Right.
minerals can't be as efficient. And so something I'm really passionate about is organic land regenerative management. Really passionate about that. And what's interesting is because we have these nutritional deficiencies, we need these vitamins and minerals for our body to convert hormones, for things to work
Mm,
properly, for us to sleep, for us to have proper even neurotransmitters working, for us to have, proper ability um, I have to be careful with my words again because of my restraints, but it helps support the body's immune system, right?
right.
Because we need zinc, we need selenium, we need these things in order for our thyroid to work. And so we have,
Hmm.
and the thyroid is the master gland, that's the master metabolism. Our metabolism decides how quickly our body heals or not, is our master metabolism, how quickly our cells turn over. So all of this comes down to, do we have foundational nutrition in our body or are we deficient? And so, with something like the VMG, which is vitamins, minerals, and greens, it's totally botanicals and whole foods. There's no synthetics in it, which I think is really important because, unfortunately, to this day, there are synthetic vitamins on the market that are just wreaking havoc, especially with people who have gene mutations where their body will not even absorb a synthetic vitamin B, and instead it causes kidney and liver problems. I've dealt
Mm,
with clients who have had bladder irritation. I can explain it that way, and the cause of it was synthetic vitamin Bs. And all we did was take her off
mm,
synthetic vitamin B, and her bladder stopped hurting, right? So when you're dealing with synthetic vitamins, they can do more harm, and unfortunately, that's most vitamins. They're synthetic because it's
right.
cheaper. And so when you're dealing with natural botanicals from whole foods, herbs, botanicals, and superfoods, you're not only getting the antioxidant benefit, but you're also getting minerals and vitamins that are readily available that your body actually recognizes because it's organic material.
Right.
So that's what I love about it. And then, of course, the added probiotics and enzymes for even higher absorption, because that is how we absorb our food is through probiotics and enzymes. That's when we eat. That is how we get our nutrition to our cells. And this is what's missing from, again, our soil. And when the immune system of the soil is deficient, the immune system of the plant is deficient, then their immune systems become deficient. So I think
Right.
adding the probiotics and the enzymes is super essential. So I just think in today's world, vitamins and minerals that are on the market today are very weak. They're not complete.
Hmm.
They're synthetic. They're very low bioavailability. And I think a lot of them do more damage than good. And so with the VMG, we're seeing people get out of bed for the first time in 4 years and do their laundry and walk their dogs. And so we're just seeing incredible results with it.
So, is it a daily drink that you take, or is it weekly? How does it work?
It's a daily drink and it's got a money back guarantee, 30-day money back guarantee.
Hmm.
So you can try it for 30 days. And if you don't feel better and your blood work doesn't change, then you can send it back for a refund or just call in for a refund. But it is awesome with that money back guarantee. But kids will drink it, which is cool. It makes kids way
Wonderful.
more compliant than taking pills. And my nieces and nephew have, I'm a great aunt, and my nieces and nephews' children, she said their mental focus has skyrocketed and their meltdowns have all
Mm.
but disappeared.
Oh my gosh. Well, those are huge pluses. Oh, wow. Well, we're going to have that on the website too. But I know it's a fairly new product, and I saw her talking about it, and I said, "Oh my gosh, we have to talk about this thing. It looks great." So, yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. So, what would you say are your top essential oil picks for the say, for example, you wanted to gift somebody something?
Mm.
Um, what would be some of your top picks for a holiday gift to maybe just nudge some friends or family into the use of essential oils?
I would say On Guard for sure for immune
Mm,
system support, Breathe essential oil for respiratory support, Serenity for sleep and calm, and then probably like a tea tree. Tea tree is another really robust essential oil that people don't
mm,
really realize how strong it is because they're using really diluted, crappy brands. But like doTERRA tea tree knocks it out of the park with soothing the sore throat,
mm,
vaginal issues. Like this stuff is like a jack of all trades when it comes to tea tree. You can use it for literally everything. Skin, you can use it for sinuses. So tea tree, as generic as it sounds,
mm,
doTERRA tree is like super powerful. And then I would say adaptive, and balance for stress and overall ability
mm.
to manage your cortisol and your stress levels. Yeah, those would be my tops for sure. And then because it's the holiday season, holiday peace, holiday joy, while in supplies, you've got to get that for your diffuser, because who does not want to smell holiday peace, which is like 10 different conifer and pine and spruce trees
Mm.
all in one. It just smells like a Christmas tree in a bottle. So you've got to get that.
Oh my gosh. Yes, absolutely. Wouldn't that be a fabulous gift though? I mean, you're addressing their body, their mind, and then their environment all in
Mm-hmm.
one. That makes a great bundle, so to speak.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
And holiday peace is no longer available. You can get Northern Escape.
Oh, oh, okay. If it sells out, it's still available
Yeah.
though. But yeah, absolutely.
Northern, yeah, it's still available right now. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we'll get this out as soon as possible. So, and now, Melody, if there was one message you could share with the world, what would it be?
It would be take your power back when it comes to your family's health and wellness. The tools are at your fingertips. You just have to be willing to go back and relearn what has been lost over the generations, that has been taken from us, the authority to support your own body and take control over your family's healthcare.
Wonderful. Yes, take your power back. I love that. So, give our audience an idea of where they can contact you, your services and resources, and we will also have this on the Epic Vision Zone bio pages.
Yeah, you can go to melodywatts.net and contact me there. I have a really great ebook, Essential Oils and Stress, that you can have for free. And then also, if you do want to book a consult, you just reach out to me on melodywatts.net and we can chat. I generally will do a 15-minute free if you're not a doTERRA customer. And then we can go in and go deeper if you want to do some more mentoring or coaching with me.
Mm, wonderful. Well, everybody take advantage of that. You have to. It's just wonderful. You'll feel much better. So, I have one last question because we're here on the Epic Vision Zone. If your life were an epic story, what would the title be?
Hmm. That's quite the hmm. Gosh. What I think and what I would hope that I would be known for would be love and connection. I know that sounds really generic, but those are my highest value.
Mm,
Highest value in my relationships and community is love and connection and support. Yeah, empowerment, resilience.
wonderful. Love and connection. That says it all. Thank you once again, Melody, for joining us today. And you can go to the Epic Vision Zone bio pages where you will find all of Melody's social media and contact information. And be sure to follow me on Instagram at Jane Applegath. And don't forget to connect with me at janeapplegath.com, where you can access your free download, Creative Power, and Vision Play Sheet. Sending you so much love and gratitude. This is the Epic Vision Zone, transforming your dreams into epic success.